just hear me out, okay? Don't scroll yet. Just give me a couple seconds here. But can you time travel? Period. Okay? Is it possible? I think it absolutely is possible. Let me walk you through how. Give me a second here. I'm gonna walk you through this. But I think if you kind of just work with me on this, you're gonna see that time travel is absolutely possible. Here we go. So look, I grew up listening to all types of music, right? Well, I shouldn't even say that, okay? I grew up listening to my parents' music, and it was really whatever they had on the radio. And growing up where I was in North Jersey, right outside of New York City, I truly only thought that there was only one radio station out there for anyone to listen to, and it was CBS FM, the oldie station, Cousin Brucey, all that going on. They never changed the channel, so that's all I listened to in the car with them. I wasn't a fan of it at that moment in time, but as I've gotten older and you start to appreciate music a whole different way, it was one of the best things ever, being able to just listen to that type of music. I don't want to say songwriters, but true musicians and singers and vocally and just how it sounded. It was just fantastic, right? So to me, it was the Beach Boys, Frankie Valli. I'm missing a whole bunch of other people because I'm drawing a blank right now. But let's go over it again. Beach Boys, Frankie Valli, Four Tops, Temptations. I mean, the list goes on and on with just that type of music from that era, right? And that's all I knew. That was it, and that was my music. And I kind of, as I started hanging out with friends, you realize that there were some other things out there. But also, MTV was a huge part of this, okay? I was born in 73. MTV is 81 or 82? I think it was 81. August of 81. Somebody correct me. It was either 81 or 82 where it came out. Like the same 20 videos were being played over and over again. But MTV is where I started to appreciate my type of music, right? What was my type of music? Well, it was anything. It's anything that I was trying to figure out, what is that? That sounds cool. That sounds great. So because of MTV, I got my first two albums, which were pretty much life-changing. And I'm pretty sure the first one was Hall & Oates' Private Eyes. I saw the video on MTV for Private Eyes. That was it. I liked that. I dug that. The vocally, just how they sounded when they were singing. That's what I wanted to be them. So it was that, but it was also Get Lucky by Loverboy. I'm pretty sure that was the second album. My father got me both of those albums. So I don't have, they're back in the other room, but they were life-changing. Those were two of, I would say, four life-changing records for me. Okay, yeah, records. I had them on vinyl, and I still do. I still play them. All right, but that's how I look at this as time travels, reminiscing, right? For me, it's the vinyl, right? You could pick it up, you see it, you hold it. And when I look at these records, I can remember hearing, like my father brought them home, I could hear them for the first time. It's just, you can really go back and listen to these things, right? So music is just key in a lot of different elements for me in my life. And so having that music, having the ability to kind of hold a physical look, I get it. And MP3s and streaming, you still get to hear it, but to me, it's just not the same. It's just having those items in your hand, and not only having, you can look at the back cover of the jacket and you can see things and read things, and then on the inner sleeve of the actual vinyl, there's more pictures and things to see. So to me, that was really the beginning of I don't want to say the beginning of the time travel, but that's where I would start my, when I go back in time and I talk about time travel, it would go right back to that point, really, that era as far as CBS FM and my vinyls. Absolutely, for sure. So now I talk about these life-changing moments as far as music goes, right? We talked about two of the albums already. There's two more, though, all right? And they were huge. They were absolutely huge for me in terms of really rounding out what I liked, my music, what was good, what did I dig, and what did I didn't like. But here's the first one, 5150 by Van Halen. This was the beginning of me becoming a Van Halen fan. Now, I get it. There's two camps. There should be three, but there's two. Dave, Sammy, don't forget about Gary, because that was part of it too, okay? But when this came out, the Dave era was done. It really was. And to me, this was the Van Halen that I knew. Like, I knew of 1984, Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher. That was all on MTV. I get it. And you start to like that, and all of a sudden, things change, new lead singer. So I just kind of went with it, okay? And as I mentioned earlier, you got the cover. You have the back. You've got the inner sleeve on both sides, right? That was the new logo too, right? They kind of updated the wings on the Van Halen logo, and they made it rings. So this was it for me, and this was the beginning of me, with Van Halen, right? And this year, just a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, the 40th anniversary of this came out, right? And we'll talk about some things later on as far as vinyl and reissues and all that. But this is what I got at the music store when my grandmother took me there when I was 13 years old. It was after school one day. She drove me to Gaslight Records in Clifton New Jersey. You walk into the store, and everything that was just released either that date, was usually on a Tuesday back then, that day or that week or that month, it's on a rack in front there, right by the register, right by the counter. And you saw everything, and this was it, man. You couldn't miss it. And this was the beginning of it for me, as far as my music and what was the stuff I was going to listen to. And then in addition to that, there was a second one. This was the other one too, believe it or not. Hysteria, 1987, Def Leppard, okay? I was a freshman in high school, I think, when this one came out. And again, you got some stuff in the back. You've got the stuff on the inner sleeve. But this was a great album. And you can say what you want about this band, good, bad, and different. But they had 5, 6, or 7 singles on this, on MTV. And again, it was just a new sound for me. It was a life-changing type of thing. I'm not a huge Def Leppard fan. I appreciate them. I like them. Saw them once. It was a good show. But that album, I guess, freshman in high school and everything that was going on around that time, those are the albums that got me on my path here. And it just has grown ever since. So now here I am, 53 years old. I still go back to this music. This music is still great. I can sit down and listen to these songs, and I can just picture moments in time. And that's my time travel, right? I'm listening to stuff in an old house where I used to live. I'm listening to stuff because of people in high school, people talking about the shows. I didn't really start going to concerts until sometime in the 90s. My parents wouldn't really allow it. It is what it is, right? So, but that was certainly part of the time travel piece of it for me, right? Now, there's also another aspect of this as far as time travel and listening to music. What is it? The other thing with music and time travel, not only listening to the music that you bought, even if you're streaming it now, right? It was going to concerts. And as I just kind of mentioned, my first concert that I remember was Genesis, 1992. I think it was June of 92. May might have been May of 92. Giant Stadium at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Got the tickets as a gift. Didn't appreciate the gift as much as I should have, but now when I look back, it was a phenomenal experience. It really was. To see Genesis, over the years, I'm not a fan of stadiums to begin with, but seeing Genesis at Giant, it was a fantastic show. It really was. That was the first concert. A couple weeks later, I got to see Rush, June 19th, 1992. I can't remember what I did yesterday. Can't remember any of that. But you give me a concert, I could probably give you the date. Rush, the Meadowlands, June 19th, 1992, Roll the Bones, and Mr. Big was the opener, okay? That was my first time seeing Rush. Over the years, I'd really become such a huge Rush fan. There we go, right? Kind of planned, but not planned, I guess, with this. But huge fan of seeing Rush, just in general, the music. So I think, again, I think about that concert. I went with my sister, and we occasionally talk about it. And it's like, I can remember sitting there. I remember we were in Section 2 of the Brendan Byrne Arena at the time. It was not called the Meadowlands Arena. And it was just a phenomenal night. It really was. And over the years, other shows that I have seen where you just kind of, you reminisce, you think about those moments in time, right? I've seen Rush about a dozen times. I've seen Van Halen 2 or 3 times. Harry Connick Jr. at the Garden State Arts Center, right? Whatever it's called now, the PNC Bank Arts Center. Changes with the sponsorships, like we change our underwear. It just, so that was part of it. I've seen Springsteen probably about 24 times, right? I try to avoid the political things, I really do, but it's just a matter of the music and how it works for you, and nothing more than that. The first Springsteen show I saw was December 18th, 95. Check that. At the Beacon Theater in New York City. It was the Ghost of Tom Joad tour. So that was the first time seeing Springsteen. And then on the reunion tour in 99, I must have seen 20 shows if I had to think about it. In the reunion tour in '99, he played 15 shows at the Meadowlands. I saw 12 of them. I saw 4 of the shows at the Garden in New York City when they closed out the tour. I went to Boston. I think I saw 4 shows in Philly. I went to Penn State. So I saw quite a few, right? But it was just that musical experience. It was huge, right? So we talk about these bands, right? Bands that are still around and bands that are kind of not around anymore. I mean, most of the bands, again, huge Van Halen fan, but that's done. But hey, Sammy Hagar's still flying the flag. You can say the same thing about Dave, depending on how your thoughts are on that. But seeing Iron Maiden, seeing Judas, all these bands I never saw in high school, I got to see recently, and it's just, again, it just kind of solidifies these moments in time where it's like, yeah, this is fantastic. But there's something about these concerts now that it's I don't call it a problem, but it's something that has to be dealt. I can't even say be dealt with, but it's just a fact of life. And what is it? Well, here it is. Number one, the cost of going to shows has just gone through the roof. Okay, I mentioned seeing Rush. For 2 tickets, I paid less than $40 on the floor. Okay, there's no way. Again, Rush is on tour, or they've got their whatever you want to call it. They're together. It's Rush, right? You just don't have Neil Peart, unfortunately. But you've got Annika Niles on drums. Seems to be phenomenal. But here in the Charlotte area, you're looking to go to a concert. See, they're going to be playing 2 nights here. You're talking hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, depending on where you want to be. Personally, for me, I just want to be in the building. So maybe I'll spend the $100 or so bucks to get in, but not more than that, unfortunately. Iron Maiden, when I saw them, ticket prices were anywhere from $100 to $150, right? That was kind of the average. But it's just, the cost for some of these shows now is in the thousands. Springsteen now with this other tour. I really have no desire to go see this particular tour, but it's like you're talking thousands of dollars. I mean, I don't know how people can afford it. I mean, and that's just personal opinion. I'm not knocking anyone for going or not going, but personally, it's just a lot of money to go see some of these shows now. And I don't think it's all the band. I think it's just the cost of touring, the cost of, in a way, I guess they basically have to rent out the arena for them to play, and they've got to make their money back. There's a lot to it, I think, and it's just the cost to tour doesn't make sense anymore for a lot of bands. A lot of the smaller bands, they just can't do it anymore. European metal bands, they don't come to the States anymore because it doesn't make sense for them to travel, which is a shame. And you're just going to see more and more of that, just people not, these bands not touring anymore. It's a shame, but, again, you kind of see these jokes online. Hey, I was growing up when I saw the great bands, and fill in the blank there, or saw the great shows. It kind of is true because they're not going to be around much longer. A band like Iron Maiden, look, they're still out there. There's some personnel changes over the years. But really, how much more do they have? And it's not because they can't do it, but, do they really want to? I mean, they want to kind of, I'm sure, spend time with their families. It's just a shame, and I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just, these things are going away, musicians and singers passing away. That, it just, little by little, that part of our lives are going away. And that's why, again, I talk about time travel. You can remember those things. I mean, YouTube is a great thing now. You can go back and look at these things because, people might have recorded it from the night you were in attendance, right? So, as sad as it sounds, there's still some great things to be thankful for. And again, I mentioned the vinyl earlier, and I love collecting vinyl. I mean, I can't say I've got a lot of vinyl, but I collect the things that I really like that mean something to me. I mentioned 5150, as far as, by Van Halen, and they reissued that whole thing, just recently for this year that, in an expanded edition, right? And really, what's an expanded edition? Well, let me show you. So, what's the difference here, right? Expanded edition, right? They're both got the same cover, but this was the original, and then here is the expanded edition, right? And what goes into this? Well, if you're not familiar with these things, you've got photos, all right? Well, I should say photos. You got liner notes. You've got little things in here. You've got, actually, there's one missing here because it's actually my DVD player. It was Live Without a Net reissued on DVD, or at least for Blu-ray. You've got the original album. You've got outtakes. You've got live tracks as well. And then you actually have the album in here. I don't want to pull it out because I'll make a mess. But, it's all kind of, people will call it a money grab. People will call it different things. To me, it's just something I want. And, I enjoy these little things like this. So that's part of it. That's one of the reissues I've gotten. Nebraska. Okay, this is actually called Nebraska. Well, say it on there. Actually, no. It's Nebraska Remastered for '82. Yeah, Nebraska Expanded Edition, right? So this is true. I mean, this is probably one of the best buys I've gotten in a very long time when it comes to anything remastered. Okay, I've got 4 albums in here, all right? One is Nebraska reissued, remixed. That was one thing. If you didn't know this, there was never a tour for Nebraska with Springsteen. And if you saw the movie Deliver Me from Nowhere recently, and if you're in the Springsteen fan base for years, you kind of knew this stuff, but this came out in the movie. There was no promotions. He's not on the cover. There was never a tour for this. He might have, in the Born in the USA tour, he played some of these things live, but there was never a tour for Nebraska. So back in Jersey at the Count Basie Theater, he did a little one-off type of thing. It wasn't even open to fans. It was just him recording it in the theater, and he played all these songs live. So that second disc, or I should say, one of the other discs, I think it's like disc number 3, vinyl number 3, was him just playing the album live, right? So it's like listening to the album, but in a live setting. There's also something called Electric Nebraska in here, and what he did was when he was writing these things, he had the band come in and play some of the stuff, and it was never good enough in his opinion, which is why Nebraska is just an acoustic album, very raw. And then there's the Nebraska outtakes, the ones that just never really kind of made it anywhere, right? So you've got all these albums. See if I can open this up again without making a mess. But you got the albums in here, right? There's a DVD of the Basie in here as well. But these are all, there's your albums there. There's some of them, more of them here. But there's almost like a coffee table book in the middle, which to me, just kind of, those are the things that I enjoy. So this was a great find. Okay. Not a reissue, but again, looking for new music. And this is some new music, right? Band called Black Swan. Rock, it's heavy, and you kind of just come across these things, and it's vinyl. And so it's little things like this that I kind of dig, just finding some new music, right? Those are all things that make a difference. But also, let's talk more about how musicians, at least artists, are kind of, doing what they can to make a living, if that makes sense. So here's what I mean by this, okay? One of my favorite musicians, favorite guitar players is this guy, Gary Hoey, okay? I've known about him for years, but he is one of the first guys that I remember at least going to see live music at small clubs, theaters, things like that, where like after the gig, he comes out, to the lobby. He's got his merch table, which a lot of artists do. They're selling their merch, because why not? If you go for it, that's what you should be doing, right? But also coming out and hanging out. And look, this is signed. Coming out, meeting the fans, shaking hands, taking pictures. Stuff like that goes a long way with me and a lot of other people. So you've got guys like Gary Hoey, and check him out online. I mean, and he has, I can't say enough nice things about him as far as a musician, a human being. Go find his stuff online, and he does some great stuff around Christmas time with shows. He's got Christmas music out there that, the stuff that makes it a little bit different, heavier stuff, traditional stuff. But really enjoy his what he contributes to my life with music. So by all means, you got to check out Gary Hoey. But here's another one that I saw that really impressed me. I think we all remember Men at Work, right? Big band from the 80s from Australia, okay? But after the band, I guess, kind of broke up in the 80s, the lead singer Colin Hay went out and still has a remarkable solo career. I don't know how many solo albums he's done with his band, solo acoustic. And this was one of the albums I didn't know much about until I saw him live. Newton Theater, Newton, New Jersey. Okay? He came out, and this was pre-COVID as well. He came out after the gig in the lobby. Everyone's kind of out there waiting to say hi, shake his hand. He had a merch table out there as well. And what he did was he hung out and he signed everything. Personalized, Too Rich from Colin Hay. All right? Now, one of the other things a lot of bands, I shouldn't say bands, artists, at least what they do that makes it worthwhile for me to really buy some merch, especially if, look at this. Orange vinyl. I didn't see anything like this before, but orange vinyl, definitely a reason to kind of buy like some type of souvenir and keepsake from a gig like that. Now, here's the other side of this coin, okay? Recently, he came out with a Volume 2 Man at Work, right? So, again, solo stuff, mixing it up a little bit with how he's been recorded in the past. But, why would I buy this, right? Well, it's vinyl, but also the other thing is, this vinyl, like a turquoise color now, okay? So, things like this go a long way with me, and that's why I will buy merchandise from different albums, different artists, right? So again, the whole time travel piece of it, something in my hand, especially like this one, remembering that show. Little things like this help with those time travel moments, right? I'll get it. All right, so this is kind of, I guess, the last piece of this whole time travel thing. We've talked about going back in time and listening to things and reminiscing. Well, you really can't go forward because we haven't done anything yet, but we could start it now. And what do I mean by that? Um, I don't want to say I stopped listening to new music the last couple of years, but for me, it's hard to listen to some new music right now. I'm not saying it's good or bad, it just isn't for me. I've got my dad was the same way. He got to a point with his music, and it was right around the time Led Zeppelin came out, and he goes, "No, I can't listen to that heavy metal." And that's when he was done. But for me, there's just been a line in the sand, I guess, in a way, and it's been there for a while, where just I don't listen to new music. It just, I've got a lot of other things I want to listen to. I like going back and listening to some of my other things, or listening to these artists that I like with maybe their new material. Okay, that's new music. But new artists, it's just hard. It's been hard for me to do this. Now, the whole social media thing is can be a little scary at times, right? Because even if you're thinking something, all of a sudden something pops up on Facebook or Instagram, and it's like, get out of my head. How did you know that this is what I was thinking about? And I went down this rabbit hole of new music, new artists I've never heard of before. Wasn't looking for their information. Had no clue who they were. And I started listening to some new music, new to me. Okay, maybe the music they're doing isn't brand new, but might be within the last year, maybe year, 2 year time frame, if that. But it was new music to me, and it gave me a chance to go and start looking and seeing what these bands were all about. Okay, and it started with this band again. And I just want to keep things straight here. No one has asked me to promote at all. It's just some of the things that I've come across that have actually made a difference in how I'm looking at music now. Okay, and I've got this band called Arbo. I think they're out of New Orleans, and they even signed it. I think it's two brothers. They signed it for me, and it's kind of like, yeah, I'll check it out. Let's see what you got there. And you listen to it, and it's like, man, this is good. Something different. Maybe something I wouldn't be looking for, but definitely enjoy that type. What they were presenting there. So Arbo is one of them. The Empty Pockets. I believe they're out of Chicago, or at least out of that area, right? And one of the reasons I got stuff from them, this was one thing I got as far as, again, because I guess once you do it for one, everything starts coming through your feed, right? So there was this one, right? But hang on, there's one thing. Let me show you one thing about this band. This is the other thing. Actually, they had some vinyl as well, right? They're more of like a bluesy jazz type of thing, if you want to call it that. I've definitely got a lot of blues out of it, but super cool album. Right, stuff on the back as I mentioned earlier, but again, a couple reasons actually why I wanted to give this band a listen, and it's been worthwhile. You got a purple vinyl. Again, I collect vinyl. This was cool. This was great for me, but they also included a couple of other things here. Number one, signed photo. Shows that they really are going out of their way to kind of work with their fans, try to get some new followers. It worked for me. And sheet music. Okay. That goes a long way with me. So this is a band I'm certainly following more of now. And, again, I only know very little about this band, but it's cool that I've got some stuff that I can start looking back on and seeing what they're all about. Here's another one, and I hope I pronounce this correctly. Starly Diamond, okay? And if I got that wrong, I apologize. Saw his stuff come across my feed. And again, I like the physical CDs. I still have a CD. A lot of us don't have CD players anymore, or record players. I've got both, so it's like if I can find something physical, I do it. But a CD signed, good job with the packaging. CDs, right? All these things go a long way with me. So, you probably ask, well, what does this matter? Well, it's new music for me to start going down this new road where one day I can time travel back to where I am today. So it's like Marty McFly going to the future, right? I'm getting ready for that. I'm gonna, this is the stuff I'm building up now for that sort of thing. Okay. One of the other ones that came in, Scott Freeland. I hope I pronounced that correctly, man. Scott, I apologize, but I gotta say, Scott has done some seriously impressive work here with the packaging. What came in the package? It was I think it had a sticker in there. There were some other cutouts and things in there. Fantastic work with the CD. Looks like a 45. If you don't know what that is, look it up. And this stuff actually takes me back to the 90s in a way. So, seeing all of this here, if you can see the packaging here. So I hope I pronounced his last name correctly, but again, great stuff to find. And then one of my favorites here, I believe he's out of Nashville, was Greg Owens. And he has done some fantastic work as far as what he's put together here, the CD, okay? Stickers are in there, and a lot of these other folks are doing the same thing. You know, the insides of this, you know, again, on the CD, taking the time to put stuff in there, which is just fantastic. You know, and a lot of interaction, good interaction with the fans. But, you know, this is kind of the other thing. I guess he's relatively new in a way to this sort of thing. So I am one of the founding members, I guess, here we go, of the Whiskey Weather Club. And he's done some great stuff as far as trying to keep things, keeping fans in the know and in the loop and be interacting with them. So he did a Zoom call not too long ago with some of us. I couldn't make it, unfortunately. I'm hoping for another one. I was on the road coming from New Jersey back here to the Charlotte area. But again, this goes a long way when people can do stuff like this. I want to be on that train with them. I want to, follow them. So Greg, good work. Really appreciate everything you're doing there. So keep it up, for sure. All right. I don't think folks like this with Greg and Scott and the Empty Pockets and Starley and Arbo and all these other folks that are making their music right now. I don't think there's a snowball chance in hell they could have done this in the 90s and 80s. I'm being honest, and it's not because of talent. It's because of the way you can do things nowadays. Just like I'm sitting here in front of a camera, actually a phone, and I can put this up there and somebody can watch it. Think about this in 91, right? Think about 91, okay, as far as music goes. And I fact check me on this. 91 saw the release of For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge by Van Halen, the Black Album by Metallica, the Use Your Illusion albums by Guns N' Roses, I believe 10 by Pearl Jam. Pretty sure you had Red Hot Chili Peppers in there. You had Soundgarden in there, I think, as well. All in 1991. The 1 year, might have even been like less than a year, like a 6-month or a 9-month period. Think about all that music that came out. I don't even know if Alice in Chains might have been in there too. Maybe, I don't know. It might have been a different time frame. Because I want to say maybe Dirt came out around that time. Okay, can you imagine trying to be an independent artist, trying to get out there? There's no way, okay, because of that. But because of technology, because, I can take my acoustic guitar, I can sit here, and I can jam a little bit, okay? And I can edit it, and I can give it a pretty little thumbnail, and I can really tweak the audio. I'm not making something that's false, but I'm just taking what I have available to me and putting it out there for people to see. I mean, think about it. You can get it, as long as you get it out there, you title this properly, you do it the right way. Your music, if you're doing something independently today, is out there in front of thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people. That was never an option. I mean, you had to hope that maybe somebody saw you playing at a club, back in Jersey somewhere, and maybe get signed to a record label. Maybe you do. Everything is in your hands right now. I mean, look, my phone is here, but look, I got a tablet, right? Let's just say I was recording off of this tablet. Everything I can do is I can do from here. I can upload it. I can get it out there to people I want to get it out there to. I can go to Facebook and Instagram, any of these other socials out there, TikTok, and I can put it out there. It's just a matter of people finding it, and then more people finding it. So, look, I'm trying to write music myself right now. I'm trying to, I want to record. I've got stuff, So when I see people like these guys and gals, right, doing it, all these folks here, I know that I can do it. So I applaud them for and this is just a small percentage of the other folks that are doing it. As I find new music, I'm going to listen to it. So I don't know. I rambled for quite a while, but I wanted to kind of walk you through how, you really can start going back in time, even moving forward in time with the power of music. It really is. So, take a step back and really start to enjoy those things you used to listen to, maybe some things you're starting to listen to. But for me, music it's a religion. It really is. People go to church on Sundays. I'm on a Sunday here talking about music to you. I don't even know who you are, who's watching this right now, but I'm hoping that you kind of dig music the same way I do. It just means an awful lot to me. It really does, as far as just the power of it. So that's it, man. I can keep going, but I don't want to. I'm tired. But that's music for me. That's music in a nutshell. That's how I time travel. I don't need a DeLorean. I don't need Doc Brown to, get all that, the flux capacitor going for me. All the stuff I showed you, that's my flux capacitor. So later, everyone. I'll see you real soon, all right? Later.